everybody, I gotta get the stinger switch back. Was doing some work. Good to see you here. Thomas has got some questions to start. Let's get a little chill music right here. How you doing, Thomas? I'm having trouble joining the speedrun data sets for BAS 320. Do you have the data? No, don't do data analytics. So we talk about the write-up here. I can't go over specifics on it. Hey, Rachel, good to see you here. Got a little bit office hours time right here. Pause this. And bring it over here. Talk about BAS 320 here to start. So here we go. BAS 320 midterm joining data. Well, let's take a look right here. Sloan, good to see you here. Sloan's giving some awesome advice. Let's start up Mubot and give out some points. It can be either negative or positive. We'll be better at explaining the yeah. So that's the thing is it can be negative, and then what does that mean? We'll go over the basics. I can't interpret the intercept for the data analytics, but we'll go over the basics of that. Okay, let's take a look at the 320 and let's do some 201. Okay, Mubot's awake now, so we gotta throw out those points. So say hey in the chat so Mubot knows you're here again. I think he has to see you again. So Thomas, I'm having trouble joining the speedrun data sets together. I've read the data separately and tried to join the function. What errors are giving you? Can you post the error? What error is are giving? Anything is that? Who's that? That's someone else. What error is are giving you currently? Yee! Warning, each row X is expected to match at least one row Y object speed run. Oh, then you're trying to store into something that does not exist. And do I have the full... let me grab the code I posted to the Discord. It's under the pinned messages. So here's where we did it. So here's what you want to do. Okay, there it is. There's that. Okay. So what does this first line of code do right here? To put off what Rachel said when we talk about the right. Yeah. Let's do that here. I can't talk the specifics of the projects, but here, let's do that next. So what does this first line of code do right here? Which actually we should probably add in. There we go. What does the first line of code do on line 1 or 2? Up there, Thomas. What does it do? What does line 1 do? We can start this from the very beginning, clear this out right here. And so what does line 1 do? Reads in the files and makes strings as factors. Boom. So we read this in here, and then we take a look over here. Activity. And we got the speedrun data, and now we have the games data. So now we have the speedrun data and the games data. Now, I had to look up some specific code to do this. I store this into complete right here. So you want to make sure you have speedrun. You want to make sure you have games also. So we're putting a sequence in here just to kind of sequence everything out and get it still ordered the same. Because looked up a bunch of different things on like Stack Overflow, and people were like, I want it still ordered the same. So this is going to make sure with this sequence we have on here that it still has the same order when we run this afterwards. Things are going to be exactly the way it was in the original data set. So we've got group by game ID, which is going to make sure that when we join things, they're grouped by the same game ID. And so we go right here and run this code right here. And boom, there's the data set with the extra variables appended onto it, and we've completed it. This code right here, do you have this code? It's pinned on the Discord. This code right here that I pinned will make it so that you get the full data set over here with the release date. Everything right there should be on it. It's got the total runs. Looks like it's correct. Looks like it's pretty good. Might need to do a little more cleaning up, but it's got it on there. The release dates on there. Well, maybe it didn't do perfectly what I wanted. It's taking just the first observation and putting it by that, and it really has a lot of not fun looking at that, doesn't it? So it does put the first one on there for it. And it does put the first game. So you'd have to find the first occurrence. So I think every time we get to a first occurrence of a game right here, like row 16, I think it will have that. So you'd have to look up the first occurrence to get that. And there it is, Minecraft. And yeah, that's the top right there. So it is doing it for the first occurrence, which I'm kind of unhappy about that a little bit because I want it to carry over the game ID. And so you could look at the game ID now, like the game ID would exist, but it did it pretty well. I don't know why we're getting a second release date right here. I don't like that, but we are seeing pretty much everything look correct now, and it's all wacky. How does it work, Thomas, when you run it? It basically gets everything the way we want it. Basically. What happens when you run it, Thomas, when you run this code right here? If I do right join. Awesome. Yeah, you don't want to do that. No. What are the different joins in dplyr? And then we'll do some tool 1. Joining in dplyr. Cheat sheet. Okay, here we go. We'll do data wrangling cheat sheet right here. Okay. So semi-join. I want to do... I would think it'd be a right join. It's not inner join? Full join. Let's try full join. Oh my gosh, I'm full screen over here on the wrong screen. Let's see, but since it only has the names on the first term, it will cause errors. Yeah, it is not going to be perfect. That's why I'm interested in getting it looking better. I don't like that it does that because it should be recognizing its game ID, and that's what it should be joining by. So when we have game ID over here, it should be bringing that over to each one. Like it should see game underscore ID for each one, and then bring that over, and that's where it should be joining it. So that's why I'm like, why does it not exactly do this? Is it the group by? So you would think we could just go like left join. So left join is going to bring over to left. So let's go here and just do complete. No, we don't want to complete speed run. It's the error I was running into earlier. No, you see, this is what it was doing this. This is the problem I was having. Oh, what is it? It's join by or group by, right? By. Still doing it. It's still making this extra row. So this is the problem I had, is it's doing this nonsense right here, which is not what we want. It's doing the preview of it, and it keeps making these extra rows on me where it gets crazy. And that's what's driving me crazy. Good to see you, Jackson. We got to throw out some points now. We'll do some 201 here in a second. But semi-join, no. All rows in A that have a match in B. So, and, well, that's not bringing in the B data. Wait. Oh, wait. Intersect, no. Binding. Well, we don't want to call bind. Column bind just puts columns next to each other. That's not what we want to do. Oh, I think I know why the group by is not doing what we want. Joining data, retain only rows in both data sets. No, we don't want that. Full join, retain all values, all rows. So this could possibly work because, is it the multiple occurrences is the problem? There might be I'm gonna take a second right now. I might write a better code. So you know what I could do? I think I have a better way of doing it. Because game ID is that. And then because then games, and then name of the game is this. And is there more game IDs than that? Why is the game ID 1 over there? Or is that, no, game ID. Let's go here to length. Well, why does it look like that? What is going on? Okay, so it looks right. So what I want to do now is I want to take and then you know what here's what I can do. I have an idea. I think I can fix this. You ready? I thought of a better way. Is we take the game names, we go to speedrun, and we take game ID, and then we go as dot fact. It's just gonna keep it in order. Almost, because it's game 0. Let me see what happens if I do as dot factor this. We'll do 201 here in a second. Okay, it looks to be in order. It looks to be in order. And like, here, let's do a table of it and see if it looks. It's putting the 1,000 first, isn't it? Or is it not? No, it just ran out of space, I think. Did it hit max print? Why isn't it printing at 1,000? Let's get a blank. Okay, so that might be good right there. And then I just have to make sure this doesn't mess up. We do s.character. Because now, if I turn it into a factor, then it has levels. And then with the levels, does this do the levels in order? Wait, this should be, strings as factors. Wait. Oh. We should be saying the 1,000. And then let's go here. This might be a horrible idea. Good to see you here, Skylar. Oh, that might have worked. All right. Cool. We might have done it. No. Wait, there's game ID. I just broke it. Why would that do that, though? Okay, let me try one more time here. We'll put a 2-minute clock on. Then we're going to do some 201. Okay. There's the game ID. Here's me turning the game ID into a factor. And there's the game ID as a factor. Here is the levels of this. Okay. Then we're overwriting the levels there. I'll be. Oh, but it is. No. That's the issue. Ay. It's a bigger problem than I thought. Just getting the right game ID over to the right spot. And it's a bit ridiculous because, I mean, I could have to with a VLOOKUP in Excel. Like, I wonder if, let me try one more code. There's the last code we're going to do on this. So, so we have games, $, wait, if, no, games, $, speedrun, $, game ID. There we go. And then let's look up the, so those are the game IDs we want. And then we're going to go here and go to the games and go to the game ID of that. And then when we get that game ID, we're going to go to games. This is the code, I think. And go to name and go to those. There, Celeste is there. And then we're going to go to speedrun. Don't know why I didn't think of this. And let's go to game name. Oh, really? How does it have not the right rows? How does that not have the right rows? replacement has this many, and the other one has, it might have missing. Okay, 2 seconds. Hey, Maisie, good to see you here. People are asking about 201, the data analytics tonight. And you just look at this code and see what's doing. nrow, or length of this. Where did it break? Okay, so that's fine. And that's where it lost some. It lost some right there. So because I think it's missing. Did you see my message about the date? Yeah, we're going to do data list right up next. You got it. Let me store this vector. And then, oh, it's a factor. Yeah, that makes sense. That's right. And sum is dot na of this 0. Why in the world? This data set is so interesting, but so confusing at the same time. We're so close. The other way we have it basically has it, but we're so close to what we want. Let's do some stuff here on Stats 1 write-up, then we'll come back to this here in a little bit, I think. Yay! Okay. Struggling with the write-up? Let's do Stats 1 write-up here. A lot of people are worried about the Stats 1 write-up. So let's talk about how to interpret data for Stats 1 right here. Head over to the main screen. So I can't interpret your data, but let's do Stats 1 write-up here. Then we'll do a little more 320 probably. So Stats 1 data analytics 5 write-up. Okay. Head over to the main screen. Good to see you here, Alyssa. Okay, so it is Wacky Wednesdays, right? Gotta love some Wacky Wednesdays. How do we do regression? Oh, thank you so much, Maisie. How do we do regression? What is regression? How do we do it? How do we do regression? What does regression take? Like, what do we need to do regression? You should know what we always need to do regression. So I have one question. Are we supposed to have that? No spline. No spline. That's advanced. No spline. Double check always the rubric, and the rubric says exactly what you need. So when you're doing the assignments, I might show a little extra, but always look at the rubric. The spline's really cool, but you don't need it. I probably wouldn't put it in. The graders might get confused. So you guys are so nice to me. What does regression take? What is the point of regression? You're welcome, Thomas. We're going to take a look at that more. The sports. I was walking, some cross-country guys saw it and said, sports! So regression takes analyze, fit y by x, takes two variables, because we're going to make a scatter plot. And to make a scatter plot, we need two quantitative variables. So we could predict someone's tip percentage from how many Facebook friends they have. Automatically, I start to see some what in this plot. Automatically, I see some what's in this plot. Like, what do you notice? Because we have to think QQ, which if you're doing regression, I see some outliers right up here. That's a big outlier right up there. So that person who says, I tip 100% and I have no friends. Well, they don't have no friends. They have 150 Facebook friends. You can hover over it and see that's person 516. And they have 150 Facebook friends. And they tip 100%. So they go out and spend $100 on food. They tip $100. Man, I'd love to wait tables and have them there. Something tells me they didn't quite understand the question, or they're not being honest, or they don't go out to eat much. One of those things may be true. So now we're going to go to the fit line right here. This fits the regression line, and there's the regression line. A little bit flat of a regression line, not the end of the world. And then we're also going to include the plot residuals, which is right down there. The red arrows have where all your options are at in jump. So the plot residuals, we're going to take the first plot when we paste this into our Word document, and this is the residual plot you need. So check out the other videos, especially I think it was Wednesday, Thursday last week. We go a lot more in depth on this. But now we're talking about the interpretation of the coefficients. So what is the basic interpretation of the intercept? The intercept is the first value right here known as B0. It is also down here in the lower output right there. Just making it so you can see it. Running to a shaman. That is so a tiny little slope right there. So what is the basic interpretation of the intercept? I can't interpret yours, but what is the basic interpretation of an intercept? What is the basic general interpretation that we generally use? So you have to know this one right here, and you got to practice it for the test. Oh, Sloan might have it already for the example. When Facebook friends is equal to 0, we expect the tip percentage to equal 17.69%. And we could say, I guess that kind of makes sense. Someone who doesn't have any Facebook friends would probably tip on average about 17.69. There's nothing illogical about that. You have to think, if it's illogical, could you tip a negative amount? Can someone tip like negative $5? And this is the percent you tip. So you have to think about your context. And can someone, no, you can't tip negative, right? So you have to think, do negative intercepts make sense? And always realize you might not see the intercept on the graphic. Like your graphic could look like this. People may be saying that I'm giving some hints. I can't speak specifically to exactly what you're doing, but you don't always see the intercept. So let me ask you right now, where is the intercept? Tell me mathematically, is it a little above 20? Where is the y-intercept? And y-intercept means when x is equal to 0. So is the y-intercept a little above 20? I'm making a point here by doing it this way. It is below 20, but that doesn't look like it's there, right? Why does it not look like the y-intercept is where it's at visually right here? Like, why does that's, I don't see that value right there. That's not where that hits. Here, I'll make it a little more obvious. There we go. So why, then you have to think about, like, I'm trying to make points for your graphic, if you can tell. So why this right here doesn't look like that right there? Because why? And I'll start fixing it now. I'll start fixing it here. Because when we graph it, it doesn't always put 0 right there. So you're not always seeing where 0's at. So just make sure you realize the y-intercept is when x is equal to 0. Visually, it might not look like that because you might not be seeing where x is equal to 0 on the graphic. Had a student make, like, we said interpret the y-intercept, and they interpret, and I was like, no, it's when x is equal to 0. Well, the coefficient of b 0. And they're like, but the graphic shows something different. I was like, oh no. I was like, it was a very good student, so I felt really bad, but I was like, well, the y-intercept is when x is equal to 0. But I guess you can say graphically, it's just where it hits the y-intercept on a graphic. But interpretation and statistics is always b0. That is b0 right there. What is the slope? It's going to be for each additional x, we expect y to increase or decrease by b1 on average. So for each additional Facebook friend, we expect someone's tip percentage to increase by 0.00067% on average. So generally, people who have more Facebook friends tip more. But very importantly, the differences here are what? You might have to really zoom in on that. But the differences here are actually what? And that's the p-value of the slope. Wrong button. I don't even know what I clicked. The differences are what? I don't like that it says weakly significant. The differences there are what? The differences there are what? They are actually not statistically significant. How do we tell if something is statistically significant? We tell if something is statistically significant when the what is what? When it's the p-value of the slope, and the p-value of the slope is below 0.05. So the p-value of this slope right here is not below 0.05, so this is not statistically significant. The p-value of the slope is not below 0.05, so this is not statistically significant, and that means quite possibly that there is no relationship. If you notice, this is kind of a flat line. The more sloped the line is, the more statistically significant it is. All other things the same. So if we did one right here, like predicting someone's pet expenses, the one I usually do from this data set, there's still outliers here, but we do have a more sloped line. And once again, you can't just look at the slope of the line and say, like, that's statistically significant, but everything else equal. If the line is more sloped, usually the coefficient or the p-value for it is more statistically significant. Over here, you have a steeper line. Are the 4 conditions we have to mention straight enough? QQ straight enough. No outliers, plot doesn't thicken. That is correct. And I would try to mention points. If you see something that breaks the conditions, like up here, this person who says they tip 100%, I'd probably mention them. I'd be like, we have an extreme outlier here. Someone who says they tip 100%. There might be some what towards the end of the model. Towards the end of this model, there might be some what. I would mention all conditions and try to talk about them. And I would say, past about 2,200, it seems like there may be an issue with what. So look at the model back here, and then look at the model over here. X value equal to 0, but the Y is equal to... It depends. Maybe you're interpreting like what, like this could be also someone's tip percentage who has 0 Facebook friends, and you could say, you know, when someone has 0 Facebook friends, we expect their tip percentage to be 0.99%, and you could say that's logical. Maybe people with no Facebook friends tip around 1%. So it can always, it's always the what it means. What does it mean when we interpret it? But who sees the problem with this data right here? Here's the start of the model. Here's the end of the model. So here's a hint. Here's the end of the model. Here's the start of the model. Start of the model. End of the model. What is going on right here between the end of the model and the start of the model? QQ straight enough. No outliers. Plot doesn't thicken. So at the end of the model gets a lot wetter. Good review of the conditions right here. So we have an outlier, and then we see the model spread out like this at the start. And then we see what? The model gets a lot tighter. So this is a problem with plot thickening. So does anyone notice that the model is more spread out here? It's thicker and it's spread around the line. And then the model over here is a lot tighter, and that's a problem with QQ straight enough, no outliers, plot doesn't thicken. We don't want it thicker anywhere. Thicker at the start or at the end is bad. We want it to be about the same thickness throughout. So I think, do I still have some graphics up for this? This is what we want for plot thickening. This would be an outlier issue. This is bad plot thickening right here. Yeah, and there is a little bit of a bend. Great job right there, Sloan. The bend is actually at the start. I was noticing that. I can show it. You see there's a little bit of a bend right there. That one's not as easy to see. And if we go to fit the quadratic, it's very hard to see. I don't know. I don't even know if there really is much of a bend. We might be overanalyzing to say there's a bend, but I definitely see that it gets thinner. Well, there are these few points here at the end. But this point, this region right here, there's also limited data. But one could say there might be an issue with plot thickening, and there's definitely an outlier. Probably the biggest and most obvious one with this is the outlier. Real data can look real interesting. What other questions are there? Remember, your interpretation is based on the indexes and what that means. The indices, if you're wondering what indices are, do I have that up right here? I think I have the cost of living right here. It's compared to New York. So New York is kind of the standard, and if things have, here we'll sort. I don't have any data made with this yet. So here's New York. New York has the 100 for everything. So when you see something right here with a higher index, right here like rent index, that means where is a higher rent index? San Francisco costs more. Can statistical significance be high, but y-intercept is illogical? Yep, good questions, Rachel. It can be statistically significant because all we do to check for statistical significance is do what? In the output, all you do to check for statistical significance is do what? So I would quote this and make sure people know you're looking at this. To look for statistical significance, always look at the what? The y-intercept is the value of B0. That is the y-intercept right there, which is right there, the estimate of the intercept. And the p-value of the slope, which is this one right down here, that is the significance of the model. It also is the significance in the analysis of variance, which is the significance of the model. So that p-value, which we won't use in tool 1, is actually the significance of the model. So that's just a fun note right there. X is not B1. X is the name of the X variable. So this is y hat equals B0. Here, I'll write them in right here. B0 plus B1X. And the tip percentage is y hat. So that is y hat equals B0 plus B1X, where y hat, we are predicting tip percentage. B0 is 17.689, and then B1 is 0.000067, and then the X variable name is Facebook friends. So what if we have a grocery index of 0, but a value for a restaurant price? That's technically illogical because you don't have groceries. You have to go, well, it's comparative to New York. So it's talking about compared to New York. So think about what that means. Like when this is equal to 0. I can't quite say. I don't want to, remember, we won't write the interpretations for our project here, but think about what it means when you have these indices. In the write-up, are you just wanting to identify, oh, no, you need to fully interpret them. When x is equal to 0, we expect y to equal b0. For each 1 unit increase in x, we expect y to increase by b1 on average, or increase or decrease by b1 on average. So make sure to fully interpret in context the coefficients right there. So you have to fully interpret in context. Fully interpret like we did in class. So make sure to watch class where we go over writing each one. When x is equal to 0, we expect y to equal b0. For each 1 unit increase in x, we expect y to increase by b1, increase or decrease by b1 on average. Also, the r squared, blank percent of the variation. So about 0.4, about nothing percent of the variation, 0.4% of the variation in tip percentage is explained by the variation in Facebook friends. I'm trying to hit around, but it's not saying, so it's based off of the, yes, it's based off the New York City index. Yep. And they should be decently nice on interpretations. They don't have to be perfect, but you need to include the values. Like, try this one right here. You ready? Try to interpret. This is one of my favorite ones, so people have probably already done it. Try to interpret the slope and the intercept of this one in context. So if you can interpret the slope and intercept of this one in context, you're doing pretty good. Try to interpret the slope and intercept. A lot of people say, I don't need to do that. And I'm like, no. If you can do this one. There we go. So try to interpret the slope and intercept. If you're watching this video now, trying to practice, it's not just about the data analytics. I believe there's 12 points on the test for interpreting the slope, the intercept, and the r squared, and you have to write them out. So if you are trying to study for the test, come back to this video, see if you can write each one of these out. Remember, it has to be in context. So try b0, which is the intercept, try the slope, which is b1, and try the r squared to interpret all of those values. We'll bring the other output on the screen right here. What are those values in context of the problem? I'll wait here just a moment more and see if we get some in context interpretations. So we want interpretations in context. Like, what does it mean? What do the interpretations mean? So first, you have to be able to identify the slope. Slope is going to be b1, which is here next to x. That's b1x, and there's b1 down there. That's x, the x variable. X is just the name of the x variable. And then b0 is the estimate of the intercept, which is also up there. And then y is the expense for pets. So what would the slope, intercept, or r squared interpretation be? Really good practice problem. Then I'll give the answers away here in 30 seconds. Y-intercept. When pets are equal to 0, we expect pet expenses to equal $340.60. And then comment on if it's logical or illogical. And I would say, great job, Sloan, right there. We'll throw some more points. Because I would say that that is probably logical, because maybe someone who doesn't own any pets buys things for their friends' pets. You could say it's illogical, because why would you buy things for pets if you don't own pets? So I think someone could say maybe that's logical, because maybe people who don't have any pets, when pets are equal to 0, when someone doesn't own pets, we expect pet expense to equal $342.60 on average. Seems possible. Maybe they're spending money on other people's pets. So then what would the slope be? This is the practice. Can you do this for the test? And if you're writing in the chat, you're getting test practice. Because then when you get to the test, you're like, that's what they want. I wrote this like a few times. I know what I'm doing. You get to the test, and it's nice and easy to write these. Let's see what we have for the next. And please ask more questions if you got them. I might try to fix that 320 issue. So I'm like, no, it's so close. It should be. I think one of the game IDs is not there. Why wouldn't it work? Or game ID is missing. That might be it. I think that might be it. Like, there's, but then why would that look that way? There's something weird about the data, and I should have looked at that. Should have looked at it. The slope is for each additional x, we expect y to, the slope is for every pet, we expect the pet expense to increase by $254.24 on average. Boom, Sloan, you're getting it down right there. Sloan, another 100 points. And then the r squared is 13.58% or 13.59% of the variation in pet expenses explained by number of pets. So there are some outliers up here. The linear model actually looks to have a problem because it's not going through the points at the end. So there's like a bend towards the end. But a decent amount of the variation, about 14% of the variation in pet expenses explained by the number of pets people have. No worries, Sloan, keep it up. That's the practice that matters. Here we'll do a little more 320, then we'll come back to 201 right here. But ask those questions if you got it. Let's do a little more 320 right here. I want to fix the video game data. I'm going to put it out to the 320 students. So we failed a moment ago, but I should be able to fix this. But ask questions 201. Joining data 2. Okay, let me try to get this fixed. Because I think the issue is that there's something wrong with game ID. We're working on speedrun data right here, is.na. I'm seeing if there's missing data right now, which means people didn't input a value for it. And let's see. No, there's no missing data. Well, then, if there's no missing data, there's no missing data there. It's a good data set. And what we should be able to do is we should be able to look at the speedrun game ID, and then we should be able to pull up. Yeah, like I said, we could go to games. Oh, no. I think I did it wrong. I almost have this. I'm so close. If we go to the game ID where it's equal to this. No, we don't want that. We're so close. I'm still trying to understand the logical logic for the y-intercept when we talk about the grocery index. Or how much you are spending. It's not how much you spend. It's comparative to New York City. So if we, here, I'll talk about that here briefly right here. So the index. So here, let's go pull up grocery index meaning. It's comparative to New York City. So grocery index is an estimate of groceries prices in given location compared to New York City. So to calculate this section, number, what are those using markets from each city. So when you look at this right here, we've got this right here. Like, we'll go to interpretation because I'm pretty sure using data collector from over. Interpreting. I have an interpretation I would use, and I don't want to quite say it, but I want people to see it. Because if the value is higher, and where's the data? If the value is higher than 100, what does that mean? If the value is higher, what does that mean? Because the standard is right here. So I don't want to quite say it, but I want you to think about what it means. That's the standard. So the standard is New York City. And then I want you to think, because I know what your intercept is. I don't want to quite say, like, a lot of people have asked about that. And then if you look at the values of these, notice something about the values and why. So look at the values there and look at the values there. There's something about the values that might clue you in. That's the Ren index, but you can sort this one too. So what we're looking at here is comparatively to New York City, if you were to take the price in one area and the price in New York City and do a comparison. So if you sort the grocery index column right here, you can see New York City's right there. And we got all Switzerland's just the places that are higher. Seoul, South Korea is right on par. But that's what that 99.4 means. It's basically the same. Is it more than New York City? Since it's exactly. Yeah, it's like you're on the right track with that, Sloan. I don't want to go into too much detail, but I was trying to, like, if you Google around a little bit, you can read up on it. Like, I Google it a little bit and see how it's calculated, because it's a comparative measure. Like, we're saying, like, comparative to New York City, and then think about what the values could or could not be. Like, you want to go eat at some expensive restaurants, go to Switzerland. Apparently Switzerland's just super expensive, except for rent. You want to live somewhere really expensive, then New York, San Francisco, San Jose, Oakland, Hong Kong, and then if you want to go somewhere cheap, Dundee, UK. Cool. Go to Italy. Yeah, Italy's pretty comparative to New York City. It's about a fifth of what New York City is. So does that make more sense right there? As I say, comparative to New York City, it's about a fifth of what New York City is, especially if we go over here to Sevilla, Spain. It's really about a fifth of what New York City is, or Essen, Germany. But hopefully that gives a little more context right there to what we're talking about. And it's a comparative measure to New York City, where New York City is kind of set as the standard. I'm so close with this code. I am so close. I'm going to get this code working right here, and then we can do whatever questions you have, let me know. My goal is to get the games in there, because what I should be able to do is, this is the game ID, and I want to go to these rows. That's what I just did a moment ago. No, I don't want to go to those rows. I want to I'm so close. My brain's just like, you know what you need to do. These are the game IDs I want. And with that right there, I guess it's throwing me off trying to interpret the y-intercept as a decimal versus the index dimension. Is your y-intercept negative or positive? And then, like, just interpret it and then think if it makes sense. Like, what the indices mean. And then think about, because I'm trying to drop some hints without saying, because I don't want to say the interpretations. So it's positive, then that's what we would expect. But also think about when x is equal to 0, could something, like, does it really make sense if x is equal to 0? And what is x in this instance? And then could something have that? And does this data set really permit for it? So you want to be thinking about comparative to New York City. You know, that's what the index really means right there. And could the and you can see some of what I'm getting at when you look at the values right here. Like, you can see some of what I'm getting at. Well, New York City is like, New York City compared to New York City is the same. Like, it's 100 because the groceries cost what the groceries cost in New York City. Groceries cost a little bit less. They cost about 90% of what they would cost in New York City. So, but New York City costs what New York City costs. Does that make sense? Like, the cost of rent in New York City is the cost of rent in New York City. The cost of rent in California is about 9.7% higher than it is in New York City. In San Jose, California, the rent is about 19% less than what it is in New York City. So, because New York City is the standard, that's why New York City is 100 for everything. Because when you compare something like Zurich, Switzerland, it's about 20.39% higher for restaurants in Zurich, Switzerland. So it's the comparative measure. So think about what a 0 would mean there, and if that makes sense. Does that help out, Sloan, right there? That's because I don't want to quite say the answers, but that's what the context of that data means. So I hope that helps a lot right there. What? Let me see here. I'm gonna put my focus music on. You ready? We're gonna get this figured out here, because this has been stumping me. There's those. And now I'm gonna go here. Yay! Great job, Sloan. Go to games and go to game ID. Why are we getting this one though? That's driving me crazy right there, because you shouldn't get one. That could be part of the issue. Oh, it might be. It doesn't make sense. Ooh, I think that is part of the issue. That is. I think we found a data error. I don't want to complete anymore. I think we just found the issue. You should always look at your data. Yes. I am pretty sure that's the issue. That row at the bottom. Holy moly. That one row down here. So I think everything can be fixed. Whoa, no way. Okay, so that one row, good to see you here, Jesse. That one row might be the whole issue. games. We'll go here to the 1001, and we'll go here to games 1 through 1000. We just do minus 1001. Drop those questions if you got them. There it is. Always look at your data. And now let's try the left join. Was this literally the issue? Oh my gosh. It is. I'm just going to be like, wow. Game underscore ID. Oh, what? It's not happy with the left join. Must be join columns. Problem with game ID. Oh, haha. It's got a lowercase d. Oh my gosh. I think it looks good now. Oh my gosh. That, no way. Really, it was just the extra thing, I think. Oh my gosh. There was a data error. There was an extra row that shouldn't have existed, causing a problem. And that was it. Let me go message 320 and unpin the message. And found it. There was an extra row in games. This was causing tons of issues. Removing it makes the left join work perfectly. Go and message. There we go. So that's got it right there. That is the issue. Pin that message. There we go. Yeah, that was... Wow. That was the issue. Gosh, can't believe that finally worked. We've been trying to get this data set. We've been just trying to join two data sets together, but it turns out games had one extra row for some reason. Let me go look at this file and just see why that existed. If you got questions, let me know. We're just chilling right now. Here's the SR games file. Let me open it up over here. Take a look. You should always look at your data. That's what I tell people to do. And I didn't look at the data. That was it. This is it. This one down here at the end. That one. That caused all the errors. That caused all our problems. That was, I don't think I added that in. But that was the problem. Why does that exist? Why is there a 1? Did I add that in? Oh, don't tell me I added that. No, I didn't add it. That I don't know why that exists, and that caused all the problems. Wow. Man, now we can do so much better stuff. Let me try some code right here. So here, let's chill out. Ask questions if you got them, but watch this. String Mario. Don't only do Mario games. Everyone's going to do Mario games now, but let's go to speedrun Mario games right here. And go. There's all the Mario game speedruns. And let's go to unique Mario games. There we go. There's all the Mario games. Cat Mario, I know that one. Those are all the unique Mario games that people have speedrun in this data set. Super Mario 64, Super Mario... God, so many Super Mario games. We could just do just Super Mario games. So we could go right here and only take the Super Mario games. And oh, new Super Mario Bros. U. 32 unique Super Mario Bros. Games. Super Mario 3D All-Stars, Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, Super Mario Sunshine Platformer, Super Mario Sunshine Elsewise, New Super Mario Bros. 2, Super Mario Bros. 2, Super Mario Maker 2, Super Mario Land 2, so many Super Mario Advance 2, Super Mario World. It's funny, like, thinking I remember a lot of these games coming out right here. Mario Golf, such a good game. Super Mario, or is it Mario Golf 64? Is that not on here? Mario Kart 64. So we can find the games that have 64 in their title. A lot of those. So 64 games. And 64 games. Probably because they're there, right there. And then Wave Race, of course. These are all the... Every game on N64 was like 60... Well, not every game, sadly. Only 13 games, apparently. Not Space Station, Silicon Valley, though. Super Mario 64 FPS. What is that? Oh, first-person shooter. All right. Yo, what's up, Josh? We're right here. We're doing some video game speedrun analytics currently, but feel free to ask questions. Wave Race 64, Kirby 64, Star Fox 64, Super Mario 64 DS. So not quite a 64 game. Robot 64, I don't know that one. DK 64, Mario Kart 64, Super Mario 64. But ask questions if you got it. We're looking at speedrun records right now from people in the speedrunning community, and we can do lots of analysis on this. But there's just endless possibilities. This is what my 320 midterm's over. We had a visit from Cosmic yesterday, a speedrunner, and he was explaining to us the ins and outs of speedrunning. So now that we have our complete data set, we can do things like look at the number of runs per game. Ooh, a lot of games have like one run. Oh, nice. Yes. Look at this. All the runs we see for the games. Or maybe, I think it's like number of submissions. Can we do... Yeah, which one question? Which one do you want to do, Nick? I'm going to pull this up right here. Look at what number of runs means. I think I know what it means. Let me know which question you want to do. And number of runs. Number of runs is the total number of runs registered on this leaderboard. Oh, it's like how many runners there are. Should be number of runners, or people who have run the game and submitted. So that's like how many people have run the game and submitted a time. So you can see, like, if we go right here and we can do this, just make a histogram. We're going to get that same histogram they have. And that's the one we just saw over here with their number of runs. But now we could do a summary of this. Yeah, for Mayfield Breakfast. Let's do that here next. We'll put a 5-minute timer on. We'll look at the speedrun data, then we'll hop over to that. So, wow, look at this. A lot of games here are not speedrun by many people. It's not until you get to really maybe the top, you know, like, here's the top 95%. Oh, wow, only 31 people. Of all the games, the 1,000 games, only, gosh, watch this. Num runs, and these are a lot of categories too, we should say. So out of the, let's go right here. We have 47,691 games. So let's go here to complete $num runs greater than or equal to 100. And that'll tell us if there's at least 100 runs for this. And then let's say mean of this. And about 1% have more than 100 people who have submitted times, which you could find out how many that is right here by going to sum, and it's 629. So not, you know, like when you think about speedrunning, it is very popular. But if you look to the most popular games like Witch.max of the complete and then number of runs, well, then the most runners on a leaderboard is that. And then let's go to complete and then $name of the game and put this in right here. And it is Roblox? Really? Is that right? Oh, I hope it's right. I hope I haven't made a mistake with the data set. Apparently it's Roblox. Is that true? I'm about to go fact check this to see if, well, Roblox is like super popular, right? Is Roblox the highest speedrun game? It might be. Speedrun net. It's loading in. It might be. There's a pretty big leaderboard. Grammarly's advertising. Yeah, I'll be. This might be the leaderboard. Look at this. Look at the amount of pages on this. Yeah, this has 4,000 people having speedrun it now, and last it reported 3,000. So we didn't know that till we did this. Would have been interesting to tell Cosmic that yesterday. That he probably would say, yeah, Roblox. People play a lot of Roblox, but Roblox Speedrun 4 is apparently the most speedrun game there is, and that's a little bit shocking. I really would have thought that if we go here, we'll sort num runs, and then we'll do the next question here. But I really would have thought it would have been like Mario games or stuff, because that's what I watch. So you always think, oh, it's the thing I do. Where's my num runs? Where's num runs? There's num runs. So here we go. There's no skips of Roblox. Don't want to skip anything. Parkour, it's a parkour game. Where's the game names? Yeah, and then the Mario games. Look at that. Celeste is super popular, getting over it with Bennett Foddy. Mario 64, Refunked, I don't know what that is. Minecraft Java, so we got some Minecraft on here. 64 and Odyssey are next, but Roblox is the number one. Super Mario, Portal, Hades, gotta love Hades, and Celeste. There is no game, I don't know that one. Super Mario Sunshine Platformer, Super Mario World, Super Metroid, Soteria, I think I've heard of that. Portal again? Oh, but it's a different category in Portal, probably. Legend of Zelda, of course, and Minecraft, ton of Minecraft. So we're seeing Minecraft, Mario games. Mario games really dominate the leaderboards right here. I thought it said Red Bull. It's funny, I know Jump King, but it's funny when I don't know a game. Poppy played, what in the world? Katana Zero. Oh, that's a cool game. Yeah, of course. They have a timer and everything. That was neat. It was a fun story. I still don't quite understand it. A Hat in Time came out recently. It's fun because you can go over here and look at the release date. Whoa, I say it came out recently. Is that the release date of A Hat in Time? It might be. So anyways, a lot of really fun stuff we can do with this data set right here. And the total runs, I guess, that have been submitted. And you can look at the ones with the most amount of runs right here. It might be for that game. So yeah, Mario, Soteria. How do I not know what Soteria is? But really great stuff. Sometimes it gets a little bit mad. Let's go here and take a look at the breakfast cereal question. Okay, I'm excited to see what people do for their project. For many people, breakfast cereal. Let's go take a look at this. And 1 hour. Let's see, step tool 1. Chapter, so there's the bell. Okay, for many people, breakfast cereal is an important part of the day. Might get my hair cut over break. You never know. Assignment manager. We almost got it open right here. Thank you, Nick, for being here and swinging by. I think I have the wrong singer transition still. Find it. Okay, we got the notes. What? Something happened. Okay, let's go check this out. For many people, breakfast cereal is an important part of the day. Oh, there it is. So for many people, breakfast cereal is an important part of the day. Cereals also contain potassium, a mineral shown to be associated with maintaining a healthy blood pressure. An analysis of the amount of fiber in grams in the potassium in servings of 77 breakfast cereals, that's the sample size right there, is included. The regression model predicting potassium that says predicted potassium is equal to the intercept 39 plus 28 times fiber. So what is the first thing we do a lot of times here is we need to identify the notation. So take a moment right here and see if you know the notation on this. You'd be shocked at how important this is to solving questions. So what is the first, the second, third, and fourth thing right there? Does anyone know what those are in notation? I'll take a moment right here. But if you're watching this video, this is some of the key learning objectives to solving it. And if you know the notation, you're going to have an easier time solving every problem for this chapter. So thing number 1 is called what, number 2 is called what, number 3 is called what, and number 4 is called what right there. There's 4 bits of notation we should know. So what are the 4 things? We'll see if anyone says anything in the chat. We'll throw some points if people get some answers. So what are the 4 things right there? I'll give it a moment more here. What are those things? Y hat? Yeah, great job right there, Nick. Yep. Perfect order right there. We got B0 and B1. Great job, Alyssa, right there. So those are the y-intercept, what we're predicting. The hat means predicted value. If it's y, it's the actual value. B0 is the value of the y-intercept, excuse me. B1 is the value of the slope. And then x is the x variable we're using to make predictions. So when we do this right here, it also says the cereal has 8 grams of fiber. So 8 grams of fiber is the value of what right here? When it says it has 8 grams of fiber, 8 is the value of what? That's right, Alyssa. And so 8 is the value of fiber, which we're just going to plug in there, which makes 8 the value of x. So we're literally just going to take 8 and plug it in right here and use it to solve. How much potassium do you estimate it'll have? Well, we just plug here 8 times 28 plus 39. And there we go right there. There we go. Does that make sense? Great job, Kevin, right there. What other questions are there? This is a good one. This is a good, I highly suggest know your notation. Unfortunately, a lot of times, and I always want to point this out, you don't want to just look at this problem and say, oh, the answer to this is plug 8 into there. You have to understand why, because 8 is the value of fiber, and so we're predicting potassium based on fiber. The y variable of interest is potassium, so we are predicting it, hence y hat. So I could say the cereal actually has 270 grams. What is its residual? So this is an addendum to the question. It actually has 270 grams. So if we were to say the cereal actually has 270 grams of potassium, what is its residual? So can you solve this? Here's the addendum to the question. The cereal actually has. So when I say it actually has this, I'm telling you its value of what? So I'm making this a bigger question right here. We have to solve another part. The cereal actually has 270 grams of potassium. Alyssa's already figured it out. This is the value of y. So if it actually has 270 grams of potassium, that's its value of y. So think it has more than it was predicted to have. So if it has more than it was predicted to have, well, it was predicted to have 267, right? 267, or 263, excuse me, would be where the line is at. It's at 270 where the dot is at, and so its y value is equal to that, and its y hat is equal to here. What is its residual? So that we should be able to visually now see the residual. So think about how we would calculate the residual right there by being like, it actually is, and it's positive 7 exactly, which means it has 7 more grams. So that's E equals to 7. And residual, E equals the actual minus the predicted right there. And just knowing your notation is really good steps. That's knowing each of those, like, okay, well, it actually has 270 grams of potassium. That is its value of Y. It was predicted to have 263. So its actual value is 7 higher than it was predicted to be. So that is how we would do that. Good stuff. What other questions are there? Drop a few more questions. I might take a break here in a little bit, but we could probably do 1 or 2 more easily. Going to send out the reminder for class. Say class coming up. Got so many emails. Let's see right here. What other questions are there? Class in 45 minutes. Class in 45 minutes. we go. The fan pattern? Yeah, let's talk about the residuals. So when you have residuals, we'll do the fan pattern right here. Relationship between fuel economy and engine size? Yeah, you got it. We'll do residuals, and then we'll do the fan pattern. Here we go. So we got a fan pattern. Good. Okay, so this is tell what each of the residual plots mean. And drop questions at any time. It's always free to drop questions right here and say, hey, can you solve this one? Can you explain this one? We go into more detail and make sure you understand it. So this is that 107 53 stat tool 1 chapter 7 quiz. Tell what of the residual plots. And then Jesse said analysis of there. Okay, cool. We got that one. Thank you, Jesse. Okay. So what is a residual plot? How do we get a residual plot? So if you have a regression, how would you turn this regression right here into a residual plot? Like when you have a regression, this is an XY relationship. How do you turn it into a residual plot? How do you take that right there? And actually, maybe we should use the other one. Flatten the line, exactly. So here's the thing. Look at this plot right here, and then we're going to make it flat. Because if you make it flat, you can see the distance things are above or below the line. And even better yet, think about this. Something above the line now has a what residual? So there's the associated residual plot for that one. I mean, kind of, sort of. It's a quick way to get it. Something above the line has a positive residual, and something below the line has a negative residual. So this plot right here below it is the residual plot basically for this one. Now, we would go in, and we would, give it a new axis right here. Just erase this one. And now we give it the new axis, and this is set to 0 right there, and that is the residual plot. So notice the fan pattern right here. We went over it earlier today and last week, I think Wednesday, Thursday, Amanda. Thank you, Jesse. 100 points, Jesse, right there. Already tagging it right there. We'll pin that right there. Jesse, thank you so much. So if you notice, it is getting stronger because the points are getting closer to the model right there. Jesse, you get another 100 points. Thank you so much. That helps me a ton and helps students. We love it when people help people right here. Vols help vols. So notice that it is the same plot. And I think a lot of people don't realize that when you make a residual plot, all that data right there, when you make a residual plot, like if we take this data right here and we turn it into a residual plot, all we're going to do, and we'll bring it back to the axes. Do you see how above, below, below, that pattern right there, above, below, below? Well, then we go here and say plot residuals, which we already have, and we go to the residual plot and take a look. We have, here's the one I want, above, below, above, below. So once again, I think Terry specifies which one to take. Make sure to take the one, I think he says the first one, but the classic residual plot I often use is just making the line flat. And then you can see what the residuals are, if they're above or below. And the easiest way to think about a residual plot is it just shows you all the residuals. It's nice and easy to do, and you can just make the line flat and see the residuals. Nice job, Jesse, just totally helping out right here. Dropping all the links right there. We love it. Oh, I didn't put them in the video for the... right after this, Jesse, I'm going to... let me do your question, Jesse, and then I'm going to go back and put those in our assignment because I've been doing that, and I forgot to do that. Just helps people, and you reminded me right there. So when you see a fan pattern, the model is getting wetter as if it fans out, the model is getting weaker or stronger. So fanned is plot thickening. We do not want plot thickening. So this model is getting weaker or stronger. It's getting weaker. Great job, Alyssa, right there. So the fan pattern indicates the model is getting weaker. So it's decreasing. That's what weaker means, is decreasing power. This one has an outlier right here. Once again, the linear model is good. The line is through the center of it. And there's an outlier right there. So it's a single point. This one has multiple outliers, also a curved pattern. Yeah. Now, the one that usually gets people is the one where a linear model is appropriate. And that's because if you have a good model, hey, what's up, Mason? Good to see you here. If you have a good model, then the residuals will look like this. This is a good model right here. So that's where we're going to say the model is appropriate. Because how should residuals look? Think of an R word. If the model is good, then your residuals should basically look what? If the model is good, then your residuals should basically look what? So here's a good model. And then we're going to make the residual plot for it. So that's a good model right there where the line goes through the center. There's no outliers really. And then if we go here and make a residual plot of it, how would the residual plot basically look? The residual plot basically looks completely what? So that's the residual plot now. Well, it'll have the symmetry even around the line, and it'll look pretty darn. Oops, not one. It'll look just random. It'll have no patterns. So we want it to look random with no patterns because remember, it came from this. It came from a good linear model, and then the flat line shows no patterns. The line would not need to bend. There's no outliers. There's no thickening. So a lot of people get confused and they say, wait, why is this good? Remember, this is a residual plot. This is not the linear model. This is also not the linear model. This is a residual plot because if you were to turn this into a linear model, theoretically, it would come from a line that theoretically could have looked like that right there. Theoretically, that would make the same residual plot. But when you make a residual plot, you make the line flat. So your residual plot is making the line flat, so we don't really see what the line was originally doing. And take a look at our previous examples where we have the model. Where's my previous example where I drew it? Where is it? There's another residual plot where we were drawing it earlier. Here's the one we wanted. Here's the data right here, and here's the residual plot associated with it. And this one shows the same issue we see up here. It's just clearer to see sometimes. And the notes do a good job of covering this too, especially at 8. At the very start, we show some residual plots. And here is the scatter plot, which shows somewhat of a bend. And then we see it over here also, where if we were to draw what it should look like, it would have a bend. But the model goes like this. Didn't do it right. Yeah, so close. Oh, come on. Last try. And look at these points over here. Those are those points above there that are above the line. So the residual plot over here is your same model, but it's the line flat. So when you see a residual plot, and you know this is a residual plot because it says residual plot, make sure you understand that this is a good pattern. It looks random. Jesse, it's time for your question right here. You said, I got it in the notes, and thank you, Jesse, so much. You said, analysis of the relationship between. Analysis of the relationship between. I like the residual plot ones a lot. Oh, no, I'm showing all the answers. Oops. Someone saw that and they're like, yes. Oh, there it is. Analysis of the relationship between fuel economy and combined miles per gallon. Let me note the time on this. And the time is about 2:01. Analysis of the relationship between fuel economy, combined miles per gallon, and displacement in liters for 1,262 models of cars produced the regression model of this. This is, once again, we have to know our notation, and people here right now know it, so I'm going to give away the answers again. We have to know the notation. The notation is going to be, let me zoom into it so you can see it a little bit better right here. The notation is going to be y hat. The predicted value is, we're predicting the combined mile per gallon equals b0, the y-intercept minus, so the slope is negative, the model goes down, and there's the x variable of interest. So, or not of interest, but the one that's going to explain stuff. So the question asks us to do what here? What does it say? Sure, Jamarcus, ask away. Choose the correct answer below. Oh, it's talking about slope right here. Lex is going crazy out there. The model estimates that cars gain. No, we need lose. The model estimates. Explain the slope being good because the intercept's over here with the 0, so we don't need those. Gain is going to be positive, so we can eliminate it down to these two answers right here. And then what's the slope coefficient? So the model estimates that cars lose on average. And so it's going to be the decrease in the y variable for each additional displacement. And displacement is the engine size. So the model estimates that cars lose on average, and the miles per gallon is the y variable of interest. So it's going to be this right here. So displacement is liter in engine size. So we would say here, for each additional increase in engine size in liter, we expect the miles per gallon of a car to decrease by 3.316 on average. So for each additional increase of engine size by liter, for each additional liter engine size increase, we expect the miles per gallon of a car to decrease by 3.316 on average. So, and they want all the decimals. There we go, right there. Once again, write down your own interpretations. Yep, I think we've done this one. I think this one's over here, right? Oh wait, no, we haven't done this one yet. Let's do it. Yeah, we did that one a lot right there. Okay, here we go, Jamarcus. Let's take the note on this and let's do it. Oh hey, 117, 53. Stat 201, chapter 7 quiz, and always write down your interpretations to practice them. That is the best way to practice for the test. Here we go. When you look at this data right here, it's clearly a negative relationship. It doesn't really have much plot thickening. I know it's a little thicker over here, but mostly good, mostly. And is the linear model appropriate? I would say the linear model is appropriate. You want to be thinking about your conditions of Q. It's two quantitative variables because mortality and calcium are quantitative variables. Straight enough, the straight line goes to the data. No outliers. There's nothing really extremely far away and from the bivariate relationship. And then plot doesn't thicken. For the most part, it stays about relatively the same thickness. It's good-ish. We want things to be pretty good. They don't have to be perfect. So it is definitely negative, and there's a fairly strong negative linear. Towns with harder waters, this is where you have to know what harder water means. Harder water means there's more calcium, so towns with harder water generally have lower mortality rates. So harder water means more calcium in the water. Calcium is a mineral that makes water hard. Here we have output a lot like jump outputs. So this is a really good problem right here to understand that the output you're seeing over here is just like this output, and we'll take a screenshot of it, that you get in jump for the parameter estimates. So if you take a look at what you have via my Pearson, you get the coefficient, which is the estimate of the intercept and the x variable. The standard error is the uncertainty. We don't need to know that. The t ratio is the ratio of the coefficient to the uncertainty. What if it's curved? This one doesn't look too curved. Like, I doubt yours is, but if it's curved, then it's not straight enough. But that one looks pretty linear. Like the line goes through pretty well. It's not perfect. I mean, a little, not perfect, but pretty well. Pretty well. And so knowing this output's key right here, also knowing that this right here, this value is the p-value for the model right there. Does it have an option to say it's curved? Yours is plots all over. Is it this one right here that we're doing researchers collected data? So it should be very similar. And now we need to write the model in here to 3 decimals. So we have to know where the intercept is. And the intercept is going to be 625.657. And then the slope right here is the negative 3.35. Now, when you interpret the slope, we have to think about what it means, not using their interpretations. For each additional, this is the question, but different graphs. So then look at your graphs. Your graphs might be a little bit different, and then make sure to interpret what your graphs show. It might be a little different. For each additional increase in calcium, we expect the mortality rate to decrease by 3.35 on average. So for each additional increase in calcium, the model predicts a decrease in mortality. The y-intercept would be all the way even further back when calcium is equal to 0. When x is equal to 0, expect y to equal b0. So when there is no calcium in the water, we predict a mortality rate of 1625 right there. The model predicts that a town with 0 calcium would have a mortality rate of this. The largest residual is the point furthest away from the model. So it's going to be a point way above the model if the line's going through. The point way above the model has the largest residual. I didn't misclick there. And with the largest residual, it means that they are above. A positive residual means above their prediction. So the town had this many more deaths than the model predicts. And they are giving context by saying per 100,000. The hardness of a certain town is 155. That is the value of x right here. So we're going to take x and just plug it in to the equation right there where x is at and do 155 times 3.35. Subtract that off the value and get the predicted mortality rate. And there it is right there. And so this is the predicted, and it wants to 3 decimals. Explain last the meaning of r squared. Blank percent of the variation y can be explained by the variation in x. So if it's 90.3, it's 90.3% of the variation in mortality is explained by the variation in calcium. So 90.3% of the variability in mortality can be accounted for by the linear model on calcium. And we got that 100. I'm going to start preparing for class. But let me know if you have questions or email me or Discord. 320's got that Discord going on. We're going to get ready for class, and I'll be seeing everyone here in about 29 minutes. Bye for now, everyone. Bye.